Hey, I am Jerry Gilmore, and I had the free state of Jones, Mississippi's longest civil war. And my opinion on the book, well, it was a good read. It taught me a lot about how some of the people, how the economy was for a lot of the Mississippians in the 1863, the 1864, and what a lot of them wanted and what some of the others wanted, how it wanted to be a free state or a slave state, which was the most biggest debate of the time period for them. And I found it wasn't confusing, but in a way because they would go off onto different stories of different families of how like the main slave owner families would deal with the issues going on at the time, and it wasn't that confusing, but it could get to it could get a little off track to me, but it was still a great read. It was very interesting to read how many of the families would do intermarriage so that they could like gain more power and slaves and control and territory, which I find very smart and intelligent thing to do. But all at the end that they decided not to be part of the Confederate Army and fight with the Union Army against the Confederate for a free state, which was not too bad of an idea because the slave economy was kind of making it bad for like the lower income people who couldn't really buy slaves to help do their land or do their crops. So they was kind of on the deep end with that. It was entertaining in some ways, but in some ways it would get kind of boring because it would just go on into dates and these stories that just lead on into other stories and dates and other people. But I really found how when they're talking about Newton Knight and his relationship with Rachel and how the kids grew up and the grandkids grew up, I found that very, very, very interesting. How they could go back that far and get information about how they lived and what they went through, which was very inspirational and very, very interesting. Instructive, I don't think it was very instructive. It wasn't, I mean, it wasn't really trying to tell me how to do anything. It was just really, this is a story, this is where it happened, and this is the outcome. So it wasn't really instructive, but even though it was just like a one, two, three step, I guess, thing, it was still entertaining and interesting for the fact that how they explained it very well, and it wasn't a hard to understand read, so that made it even easier to understand what was going on, how things were going through at that time, and how the other people around them, like the people in the counties, were reacting to like other people from the counties, and was like almost a whole battle over one little fight between these two men, and it had gotten really serious where counties were fighting each other because one man from this county murdered another man from this county, and that to me is very, very interesting and how it could got so far. Does well, yeah, the argument, there wasn't really many arguments. It was just like stories and viewpoints of how things went down back then, and in this state of Mississippi. But other than that, yeah, weaknesses. There was times in the book where it was kind of hard to understand, just because of like how it would like jump off, and you would like have to catch on and like kind of understand or like put together where they're going and what family they were going from, because it was kind of confusing because it was like five families that was like major slave owners back then who like controlled the slaves and like either integrated married families to like have a bigger make bigger profit and wealth. So it was kind of that's one of the weaknesses, but the strengths was how deep and educational that the information was. Like you could really grasp of how they felt and what they felt during this time period. I would recommend this book to someone. I'd say 8 out of 10. It's not a bad read. If you're a Mississippian, I think you should definitely read this book. It's a good way to understand the history of your state and what they went through and why they are the way they are today. Thank you.